Welcome, everyone. In this topic, we're going to build a strong foundation for organization development, or OD. We'll start with a clear definition of OD, then we'll talk about what OD is really trying to improve. Because OD focuses on the whole system, not just individuals. We'll also walk through the key characteristics of OD, what tends to make OD efforts succeed, and why OD developed the way it did as organizations became more complex. Then we'll cover the foundations that support OD as a disciplined approach, like systems thinking, participation, learning, and action research. And we'll connect that to the psychological assumptions OD makes about people, motivation, resistance, and groups. Let's start with a clear and practical definition of organization development, or OD. So, OD is not just change. OD is planned change. Planned means we do not guess, we do not react emotionally, we do not rush into solutions, but we must first understand what is happening and then we design a change effort with intention. So, OD is also organization wide. That means OD is not only about fixing one person or one small issue. OD looks at the organization as a whole system and asks, how do we make the organization more effective and healthier in the long run? Now, why does this matter? Because markets and industries do not stay the same. Technology shifts, competition changes, customer expectations change. So, OD helps organizations adapt over time. And OD relies on behavioral science. It asks questions like, how do people behave? How do groups work? How culture shapes action? And it combines this with systematic inquiry. So OD is practical, but it is also disciplined and evidence based. A common misunderstanding is that OD is mainly about improving individuals, like training employees to work harder or behave better. But OD is broader. OD focuses on the system. In OD, we pay attention to culture, work processes, communication patterns, decision making routines, leadership practices, and even organizational structure. Because even skilled people struggle when the system is unclear or unhealthy. And OD has a second goal that's very important. We don't only solve today's issue, we also build the organization's capacity to improve again in the future. OD strengthens organizational learning, problem solving, and renewal. So improvement can continue, not just once. OD is not designed to be a quick patch. It emphasizes improvement that lasts. Many change efforts fail because they work like temporary campaigns, where people follow new rules for a while, then drift back to old habits. OD aims for sustainable improvement by working on deeper conditions like norms, routines, and feedback loops, so the organization learns and retains better ways of working. That's why OD is often described as organizational renewal, where strengthening effectiveness and health is conducted over time. OD has several characteristics that keep it disciplined. First, OD is planned and intentional, not random or reactive. Second, OD is diagnosis driven, meaning we collect data and understand the organization before choosing solutions. Otherwise, we treat symptoms and we can miss root causes. Third, OD often involves a change agent, which can be internal or external, and who helps facilitate the process. Fourth, it is action oriented. It aims for real outcomes like effectiveness, quality, and health. Fifth, OD is participative. It involves people because participation increases people's sense of ownership and commitment to the organization. Sixth, OD is systems oriented and scientifically grounded, drawing from applied behavioral science and systematic inquiry. OD is guided by humanistic values like respect for people and belief in growth. And it relies on action research cycles that permit diagnosing, acting, evaluating, and adjusting. Finally, OD uses a contingency mindset where there is no single best intervention for all situations. It chooses what fits the organization and its context. OD success is not just about choosing a popular tool. It's strongly linked to three things. First is openness to change, or the ability to acknowledge issues honestly and engage with them. Second is the capability of internal change agents, where organizations do better when they develop people who can diagnose, facilitate, and support follow through. Third is commitment. OD takes sustained attention. Without commitment, OD becomes just like flavor of the month. But with commitment, OD is much more likely to create lasting improvements. OD developed because organizations became more complex. As organizations grew larger and more bureaucratic, coordination and communication became harder. Early OD emphasized social processes like relationships, communication, leadership, and decision making, because many problems in the organization are actually centered on human and relationships. OD then expanded into work design because performance is shaped by how work is structured, not only by individual skill. OD also deepened into human resources, developing capabilities to meet changing demands, and matured into organizational structure because structure can support performance or it can quietly block it. Now, OD is not just common sense, it has foundations. OD uses planned change frameworks to give change logic and direction. It uses systems theory to remind us that everything is connected. It emphasizes participation and empowerment because involvement improves both idea quality and commitment. OD emphasizes teams and teamwork because organizations run through groups. Sometimes it also needs parallel learning structures. These are structures that allow learning and change work to happen alongside daily operations. OD often uses a normative and re educative approach, which is change through learning and shifting norms and values, not only through force or incentives. And OD is grounded in applied behavioral science and action research, where you are able to diagnose, act, evaluate, and adjust. OD as a field rests on psychological foundations. It assumes people can contribute more when conditions support them. So it doesn't blame individuals too quickly. It asks what the system is producing. OD also takes motivation seriously. If people don't see meaning or fairness, they may comply without commitments. OD expects resistance to change. Resistance can reflect fear, uncertainty, loss of control, or past failed changes. In OD, resistance is information, not just an obstacle. And OD focuses on groups because work happens in groups, and group norms can either support new behaviors or pull people back to old habits. So, by now, we can understand that OD is a process and not just a single event. It unfolds in stages. One, you understand through diagnosis. Second, you plan the change. Third, you act through interventions. Fourth, you evaluate outcomes. And last, you adjust based on feedback. This matters because organizations are complex. If we skip diagnosis, we solve the wrong problem. And if we skip evaluation, we don't know if anything will have improved. So OD depends on feedback loops, meaning we learn while we act. Now, interventions are not all the same. Some target people and teams, others target processes, structure, or culture. And interventions differ in how they create change. Some emphasize learning and participation, others emphasize redesign and alignment. Classification matters because organizations often choose methods because they are trendy. OD avoids that. OD asks, what does this organization actually need? Then it chooses an intervention that fits. OD happens in real organizations, so conflict is normal. OD doesn't try to eliminate conflict, it tries to manage conflict productively. Conflict usually means perceived incompatibility, as in differences in goals, values, interests, or approaches. So older views treated conflict as purely bad, but more modern views recognize conflict can be functional, where surfacing issues and improving decisions are part of the norm. When these conflicts are managed well. OD pays attention to common sources of conflict like scarce resources, goal differences, role ambiguity, communication problems, and interdependence, where groups rely on each other. Conflict also occurs at different levels inside a person. For example, it can be inside a person, between individuals, within groups, and between groups. And because change can shift roles, power, and resources, OD uses conflict management and negotiation skills to keep the change effort moving.